Finally, after 1 year in the making, this is the XHDATA D-219, and this is my little long-term review. Why I actually do not use this radio anymore. So stick around for that. Might be interesting. I'm gonna keep it short. When I bought it 1 year ago, I think it cost me slightly less than 10 euros, which is considerably cheaper than the Tecsun R9012, which I'm using still to this day, and over this one. This radio is kinda good and bad at the same time. It's cheap, it's small, it has a good reception, you know, above average, for especially for the price and the size. The quality control is great. I mean, tuning this thing, like the tuning wheel, the little one, it just feels like quality, it feels great. We gotta keep in mind the price. You have to compare it to stuff like this, you know, the BAM, the weird BAM BA radio, which has a similar tuning wheel. It feels very stiff and the needle is crooked and the positions don't match, like this indication is of no use at all. But it sounds good. This radio is also a Bluetooth speaker. It's roughly in the same price range, I think around 12 euros. But this speaker is so much better sounding, and also the bandwidth filters are wider on this one. Leads to worse reception, but better sound if reception is good. And yeah, that's the main issue I have with the 219. If reception is good, you don't need this radio. Any other radio would sound much better if reception is good. On FM, this is slightly above average, certainly the best in its size and price range. It's no DXer, it's not like what these chips might be capable of, like these Tecsun PL radios that are really good on FM. This one is not as good, but it's still good. And certainly it's much better on FM than the R9012. Like it blows this out of the water. This is one of the worst FM radios actually that I have ever experienced. You do not buy the R9012 for FM. So but the main thing people buy this is for shortwave. So let's talk about shortwave reception for a little bit, because that's where the actual problems start, where I have the problem with the sound. FM sounds alright, it sounds a bit tinny, but what to expect in this size? You know, it sounds good for that size. But AM could sound so much better if they were just doing I don't know, 3 kilohertz bandwidth filter, maybe, like 3 kilohertz to each side. So maybe 6 kilohertz if that's what you want to call it. But they went for 2 kilohertz. Like it sounds the same as if I take my PL380, put on the 2 kilohertz bandwidth filter on AM and listen to the station. It's the same. It's 2 kilohertz filter bandwidth. And for example, if I'm listening to the strong signal on medium wave like BBC 5, I get very good signals for BBC 5 over here. I would definitely long-term listen on this one rather than this one. It's pretty annoying actually to have that low bandwidth filter, because tuning this radio feels much better than tuning this radio, and reception is roughly same ballpark. And that's the deal breaker for me in using this one. It's the bandwidth filter. Other than the bandwidth filter, the range is kind of weird, I noticed. Come on, give me some focus. We can see the 49 meter band actually goes up to 6.4 megahertz, and the 41 meter band starts at 6.8 megahertz. But it ends too early. So why is that? Why not spread out 49 a little bit more and give me the entire 41 band? And I don't need to listen to 6.8, 6.9, even 7. it might increase reception in some situations where a narrower bandwidth filter would do that and filter out more noise, but I do not find these situations. Automatic frequency or gain control, or whatever you want to call it, on medium wave especially, it leads to the dial staying on strong signals. Like you tune around, you reach a strong station and you keep tuning, but the station stays. And if there's a weak station next to that station, it's pretty hard, sometimes impossible, to tune it in, because this one will always switch to the strong signal. You know, I'd spent the $5 more and buy the R9012. For real. I'm sorry, XHDATA. Fix the bandwidth, and this is great. This would be a great radio. If you do not fix the bandwidth, the R9012 will blow that radio away any day of the week, for sure. Compared to this one, which we're gonna let it represent your average cheapo small radio, which, by the way, is not really that small. It's much thicker and bigger than the R9012. It has a better speaker, because it also doubles as a Bluetooth speaker, but the radio itself is much worse. Like, reception quality is bad. It's kinda only slightly better than the R9012 on FM, and let's not talk about the band spread on this one. It's very strange. So, no hate for the D-219, but not too much love either. At least it was cheap, you know? We have to consider this is the cheapest of the three. So that's actually an achievement, to not be the worst of the three and actually stand out in some areas. But in the end, I think the R9012 is more convenient to use. It's better sounding, and it's more fun to use, you know? And that's what counts in the end. This is a real analog radio. You need to have this one. If you're looking for either of these radios, buy this one. This is the real deal analog radio with classic tuning wheel that does not feel as cheap as one would think. It feels cheaper than on the D-219, but it feels alright, you know? It's just my 2 cents after 1 year of owning these two radios side by side. When I'm laying in bed at night and I'm listening to some BBC medium wave broadcast at IDX over here to Germany, then I'm using this one. Not because this one has worse reception, but because this one sounds worse, because the bandwidth filters are too narrow, and it's a digital chip, so they could just, you know, switch them over to a wider filter. Wouldn't be a problem. Anyways, thanks for listening and watching, my friends. Hope you enjoyed this little take on these two little radios. Let me know your opinion on either of these radios down in the comments below. Really be interesting what you think. Like, if you bought, especially if you bought the D-219 last year when it came out, are you still using it? Are you still getting the same enjoyment out of it like you did back then? Make sure to subscribe to the channel, of course. And I will see you in the next one. Until then, check out my other videos. Peace out. Thanks.